Okay, another week in review. Week in review 6. Fucking hell, this is it's interesting doing the week in review because as time goes on, I'm like, fuck. I've only got 46 weeks left of this year. It's got to make the best of them. As much as it still sounds like loads, doesn't matter. Anyway, it's been my most disciplined week. Yet I've gotten some of the worst results, and that is a real kick in the ass. So first of all, appointment booking with cold calling has just been absolutely terrible. And I'm just going to show you over here. Fucking brutal. Okay. Um, Now, show rate is overall pretty terrible and it might stay that way. Two did cancel on me, but they told me they can reschedule for Monday or Tuesday. And then I do also have like another two meetings booked for next week that were made this week. So show rate could go up to like 40-50% maybe if they actually do show up and stuff. But I'd be really clutching that fucking strings here. I mean, you can see it here. It's fucking brutal. Literally, at one point, made 121 dials and booked one motherfucking meeting. And fuck, man, it's something I've learned to you have to just be analytical and say, okay, well, we have to do 500 to 1,000 dials to really decide on what an appointment booking rate is. And yeah, I've felt pretty stressed out about it, to be honest. To be, just completely upfront, I've been stressed about it because if I can't book enough fucking meetings, then I'm just fucked. Like if I can't book meetings and then I have an ass show rate, then I'm just never gonna get a client. And it's just that's honestly been the biggest thing for me. I've just been stressed because I'm like, fuck, if this doesn't work, I'm like fucked. It's kind of it's a very big problem because it's the only fucking problem I could have right now, and it's if I don't fix it, I don't have a business at all. And then I suppose the stress kind of makes it worse. But then you start seeing ads of all these other agencies who are also trying to work with tradesmen, and they're all running their ads for it and stuff. And I'm not running ads. Maybe I should. I don't know. And you're like, oh fuck, this market really is swamped as in just being a digital marketing agency. But then you also have to remember that every market everywhere is saturated. And if it's not saturated, then you're fighting the battle of trying to convince people to buy your product or service. Because if they do know what your product or service is, then it's probably saturated. And it's always just about being better, or sometimes not even better, but just being good enough that you can still land a client. Because it's obviously most times it's not like one guy can take over the whole market, especially not in digital marketing. Because generally people can only take on one or two clients in an area because they run the whole exclusivity thing. So that's the other side to it too. And what I have learned from the cold calling as well is, like, I mean, you can see it over here. Just people my niche in particular, like bathroom, kitchen renovators, is just not qualified. Not qualified. As in they just don't need more work. When I generally open with the cold calling script, I'd be like, oh, could you take on a few more jobs in the next 2 or 3 months? Like I said here, I mean, I need to stop switching, but like 33% of the owners I speak to are just like, they explicitly tell me they're booked out like 2 or 3 months in advance. And I'm like, okay, well, if they're like that, then they don't have any sort of problem. And then the rest of them also don't really have the problem. It's just that they're not booked up in advance. They're just like, yeah, I'm booked up like a month in advance and work just always comes in. And they're just not interested in that way. So for a new cold call opener, just because it might be more fun, might be easier on me, I might just start with telling them I've got good and bad news. Bad news is this is a cold call. Good news is I'm going to help you bring in more work and, pitch, whatever. I will see, but that's what I've kind of come to learn as well, is that cold calling scripts do not matter. It's about what you say and if your offer resonates. Now, I know your offer is what you say, it's about how you say it. It really is, because it's once you have like your offer and that is integrated well and with proper wording, it doesn't really matter what you open with. Like there are so many different openers you could use that do work, as long as you're not, I don't know, saying something retarded. Even if you are saying something retarded, that can almost be a pattern interrupt. Who the fuck knows? I don't know. It's one of those things where I think because I've faced the problem of people not being qualified, it's just like, it doesn't really matter what I say, because if I have an offer and it's like, I'll bring you more work and it's pay after results, if somebody wants more work, that is going to resonate them 100%. Now, obviously, it's up to me to deliver it with confidence and to be able to answer any questions or potential objections they might have. But overall, like, you just got to be able to fucking, follow more so structure than script, and that's it. So another thing then that's really kicked me in the ass is that the appointment show rate has been fucking brutal as well. It's been at like, I mean, you've seen it there. It's been like 20%, which is fucking dire. Now, the one thing I will say is that I have got maybe 2, maybe 3 meetings that I scheduled this week. I scheduled for next week, and 2 of them cancelled, but they said to reschedule them for Monday or Tuesday. Now, they haven't booked in time, so I'm not attaching myself to them because it's not full reschedule unless there's a time. But they did explicitly say to reschedule for Monday and Tuesday. Whereas another guy cancelled and he said, I'll call you when I have time. And other guys have cancelled before and just said, yeah, no, I'm not interested anymore. So they are definitely a bit more interested than just cancelling outright. So it's still potential there. But it's still fucking pain in the ass. And then from a service delivery point of view, my client actually landed a job. It was worth 9.6k. It was a kitchen job. And then he still gave out about lead quality and how Bark for shared leads is really good and has been really profitable for him. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, why the fuck would you do, like, if Bark is so fucking brilliant, mate, fuck off to Bark, okay? Fuck off to Bark. Now, I know there's different ways and maybe it's like, oh, if this works, I can just do this. But if Bark is that good and that profitable for you, why don't you do that to scale your fucking business, right? Now, I didn't get that into it because he just sent me like a whole text. He was just sharing his theory on it. Like he wasn't, I don't necessarily know he was being a prick or not. It's always hard to tell over text. But it was like he just shared his theory that when people search, they go to Google and they go to Bark and then they're more intent and he's found it profitable. And yeah, in my head, I was like, yeah, I understand that means we can tighten down on questions. Because the thing was as well, I'd asked him at the start of the week, I was like, how are the leads? Should we tighten down on the lead forms? And he said, no, I think we have to probably give it a few weeks to see what comes back. And then halfway through the week, then he tells me, yeah, we definitely need to tighten down on lead forms. Now, the reason I know this is coming out of him, because it came out of him after he landed the job, as soon as he landed the job. And not in a way that he was trying to give out so that he doesn't have to pay me at the end of the month because I've brought him in a result, but more so in the fact that he spent 4 hours talking to an Indian woman, trying to convince her to get the kitchen, and that's basically what it was. He was fucking, I'd say he was just pissed off that he had to spend 4 hours talking to her to convince her to get a kitchen. And even though he just landed a job worth almost 10 grand, he was like, fuck, this is pissing me off. And then he just vented to me, I guess, and so that's kind of what I'm thinking where we're at, because all the ads are in KPIs for the most part in terms of click-through rate and conversion rate and lead forms and stuff. So it's just tightening on leads coming in, I suppose, is really what I need to do. But yeah, so that's the thing. Now in my head, I'm still counting that as a win because we'd only been launching the ads like 8 days as well, by the way, and he landed a job, and so it's like I can't fucking win. I'm stressed out about not being able to book appointments because if I can't do that, I can't even, there's no progress. Because if I can book appointments and I can get on sales calls, even if I'm not closing sales calls, I'm still getting better at sales, right? But if I'm cold calling, I've hit that plateau where you don't really get much better at cold calling in terms of if people give you objections, yeah, you can answer them. But also my issue with cold calling objections is you don't want to push too hard to get people on the meeting, because if you are really fighting to just get them to show up, how hard is that fucking sale going to be? It's going to be really fucking hard to get. So there's this balance where you don't just want to get people on the call. You want to get people who are actually somewhat eager and stuff. I mean, I'm not going to get too into that. But so I was stressed out with not being able to book appointments. And then the one client I have was down my throat giving out about the bad lead quality after getting a fucking job. So pretty bad in that week. And then just to top off my weekdays, the client who I closed from last week, who, again, this is why I don't attach myself, got too busy. He said he's not able. He said once a week, wait a week or two. And that's the problem with pay after results, right? Is that the fucking, I kind of, I wasn't all in on that guy. I kind of knew it might appear or come up. But that's just what fucking happens. And it's fucking terrible. It's ass. And then the good news is that I finished today and kind of finished my work week. I don't really have much more work to do. And I don't want to get into a tangent, but like I might only be working on average, well, this week maybe 7.58 hours a day, but it's impossible for me to do 10, 12-hour work days because there's not 10 or 12 hours of work there. Once I'm cold calling, I need to either book meetings, and if the meetings don't show or I'm not booking meetings, then I don't have anything to do. The argument there is that if I'm not booking meetings, I should be spending more time doing cold calling, and that's probably something I'll have to look into if I can't increase my appointment booking rate. But anyway, as I was saying, I finished the week off with a sales call today, Saturday at 1 p.m, and he closed. So it was pay after results again. Once again, I got complimented on my confidence and how well knowledgeable I am. I think I'm just good at selling on energy, and I wouldn't say I'm good at sales. I'm not, but I'm good at selling on energy for sure. I can just get energetic and confident. I'm like, this is gonna fucking work for you, man. I don't know where I pull it out of. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I could deliver on results because he only starts at kitchens that are 15k plus. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm fucking certain this is going to work for you. I don't know where I pull it from. Maybe I'm a good fucking actor or some bullshit. I don't know. But close to him. Now, it could be the same thing where he decides he doesn't want to move forward. But the only difference is I know he has to move forward, and he knows he has to move forward because I've done a bit of a better job in the discovery. He has a kid on the way. He wants to buy a house and stop renting. He also wants to open a showroom and stuff. So he has urgency. And he already said my deal's really good and the quality of the service is really good. And he said he'd actually spoken to other people as well. And he said that I actually seem better than them. And then furthermore, when we actually booked in the onboarding call, which is next Saturday, it is a week away. So it's a little bit, will he show up? But he did actually specifically get out his calendar and his diary. And he was like, yeah, can we do this next Saturday? Because I just want to make sure I have time for you to actually book this in. So he was pretty dedicated to making sure he could show up to it and get things set up. So yeah, we'll just see what happens and fucking next week in review. We'll see how things go. But that's kind of been the week. Yeah, really only stressful thing I have right now is thinking is, am I going to be able to fix this appointment booking problem and the show up rate thing? I mean, show up rate can kind of be fixed, but in some ways, if I try qualify people harder for showing up for the appointments, then I'm not going to book as many appointments, and I'm already booking fuck all. So it's kind of like I could just be fucked either way if I can't up the overall booking rate. And that's why I've been trying to scour the internet for like what's a good appointment booking rate for cold calls and SMMA. And guys I've talked to have said 2% is what they get. They just use like a multi-line diner, so they call like 2 or 3 people at the same time. So maybe that's an option I'll look into. We'll see. Well, I can't actually if I'm cold calling the UK or Ireland, so it's not an option. It could just be spend more time cold calling, and that's the only problem I have to fix right now is appointment booking. Yeah, that's basically it. It's been stressful just because I can't book appointments, and like I said, I just repeat myself, but it's definitely fucks with my head. It fucks with my head a lot. But that's basically the week in review 6, and that's everything I've taken from it.